I'd now like to call on Paul Rodbell to come up and make the presentation, since he started it all, respectfully called off, and join Rabbi Neuberger in making the presentation. Three of our honorees are going to speak briefly to you about their experiences and thoughts. Thank you very much. The honorees would each come up now, please. And now we're honored to have three of the young men share a few words with us very briefly about their experiences and thoughts for us, both historical and sort of where we are today. It's really a great group. I have to say again, though, that again, things started in Rabbi Feldman's office, these planning meetings. But Rabbi Feldman takes special pride in, of course, all of these young men. He was in on the selection of all of them. Rabbi Freundlich, as you all know, is the associate rabbi here. And so Rabbi Feldman has been a very big part of that growth, so that Rabbi Freundlich has grown into an extraordinary rabbi on any measure. So I think it's especially moving for Rabbi Feldman tonight to see Rabbi Freundlich here representing the group and how he has developed. And
you got 3 minutes.
Thank you, David. Thank you all for being here. I want to preface my words by first acknowledging the presence of my parents and Rivki's parents. The honor that Rivki and I received tonight is really their honor, and it is touching for us that they have come to join us here for Shabbos and for everything else that we've been able to accomplish. And it is our hope and our prayer that we continue to be a source of nachas to them, together with our family, until 120. Thank you very much for everything. I have to say my remarks aren't prepared for, and standing in front of the camera, as many of you know, is something I've grown accustomed to. But the emotions, the feelings that I have right now is something that I was not prepared for. Seeing this room full of people who have come out to honor myself and my colleagues and our families is truly touching, and something that I was not fully prepared to experience, the warmth, the love that we feel by all of you coming to share in this honor with us. And I thank you all for doing so. A Rebbe of mine once told me many, many years ago that there are 3 major decisions that we make in life, 3 choices which will set the context for everything else in our lives. He told me the person you choose to marry, the place you choose to live, and the job, the profession that you choose to work at. Those 3 choices will establish the context of your entire life. And Rivki and I have had the opportunity to take, given this opportunity of this evening, to reflect back over 10 years, a decade, from the day we moved in August 2001 to the place that we stand in today, the position that we have in this community, the lives that have touched ours and that we have been privileged to touch over these last 10 years. Our home, our place that we call home, the job that we have, and it all goes back to a single decision that we made 10 years ago when Rabbi Meir Neuberger entered into our lives, into our living room, to convince us to move to Atlanta, Georgia. At the time, Atlanta was not anywhere near wasn't on our radar screen, nor, to be perfectly frank with you, was the idea of being a rabbi of a community. My dream was to be a teacher in a high school, and Rabbi Neuberger was selling that dream, and we bought in, not having any idea what would become. I'd like to spend the moments that I have tonight really giving a tribute to Rabbi Neuberger and the job that he did with myself on behalf of my colleagues. And I would define it, the role that he played in our existence and our experience here in Atlanta, as 2 roles. Avinu, Rabbeinu, our father and our teacher. We were primarily a kollel. We came here to learn, we came here to study, and Rabbi Neuberger was our teacher. And as many of you know, Rabbi Neuberger is a brilliantly clear and penetrating thinker. He's a passionate driving force in a beis medrash. If there is Gemara that's being studied, he is involved. He is going to weigh and measure every thought that is said on the scales of logic, of reason. He is unwavering in his pursuit of the truth of the magnificent Torah that Hashem has granted us. He expects of himself and demands excellence, and from us, he demanded excellence. And as a result of that, we did our best to give that back. We achieved in our years here the study of 3 very difficult topics. I myself earned my smicha through the tutelage of Rabbi Neuberger as we learned here. And we accomplished a lot in learning in the Beis Medrash because of his guidance. But there was a second role that Rabbi Neuberger played, a role that he could not have possibly prepared himself for, a role that he could not have possibly expected he would play, a role that we did not ask of him at first, but that sort of developed. And that was one of Avinu, of a father figure. Many of us came here far from home. This was our first experience in a new community. And whether he liked it or not, he became the person we would come to with our questions. Whether or not it was choosing the best health insurance, whether it was a question we had with an 8th grade student we were working with, whether it was an issue we had amongst ourselves. And this was an entirely different set. This was a gentle, calming, patient, understanding figure who we would go to, who we would start every discussion with. And he had a very difficult job because he had recruited 5 young, energetic, talented, idealistic young men who all of us were very outspoken. And at the tender age of 25, we're all positive that we knew how this yeshiva should be run. We were clear and open about it, and all of us were never wrong. And Rabbi Neuberger would listen, would take our opinions into account, would think, would guide with his sweetness that only Rabbi Neuberger had. And when you look at that picture on the front of your journals on your table 10 years ago, the 5 of us, the 6 of us really standing in Nera Mizrach across the streets, and you look at those 5 young men, and we've become a Rebbe in Torah Day School, a Rebbe in a high school in Or Yisrael, a principal in a high school, associate rabbi, graphic designer running the arm of a major company in Lakewood. And you could look at those 5 young men, and it was the nurturing of Rabbi Neuberger as each one of us went in our own ways that brought that out and created us into what we were destined to become. And that's really the yeshiva. That is Or Yisrael. On the one hand, Rabbeinu, it's a teacher, it's a place where boys learn. It's a place where they learn to be unwavering in their commitment to Torah, to understanding the greatest gift that Hashem has given us. And at the same time, it's Avinu, it's a place of fatherly love, a place where each boy is able to become that which he's destined to become. He's nurtured with patience, with understanding. Rabbi Neuberger, together with Rabbi Kinerik and all of the talented Rebbeim, create that environment that we all were able to benefit from and become the people that we are standing in front of you today. And for that, we thank the yeshiva, we thank Rabbi Neuberger. I'd like to also mention Mr. Paul and Cheryl Rodbell for their support in allowing this entire endeavor to happen. Dr. and Mrs. Robert and Jan Cohen, our first president that we had. And to conclude with a reference to our wives, for me personally, for Rivki, and I'm sure on behalf of all of my colleagues, working in the yeshiva in the early years was a difficult endeavor, took up a lot of time and our energy, and it was only because of the support of our wives that we were able to accomplish all that we were able to accomplish, and we thank you for that. I'd like to ask my good... I hand it over to my good friend and colleague, Rabbi Naftali at Wayntraub.
Wow, it's been 6.5 years since my wife and I left Atlanta to move to Lakewood, New Jersey, and it's quite overwhelming to come back to see a bunch of people that we haven't seen in such a long time, and to see how the city has grown. Especially, I had the zchus to daven mincha in the yeshiva this afternoon, and just to see how different it is and how much the yeshiva has grown over these past 6.5 years is truly overwhelming. I want to thank the yeshiva for honoring myself and my wife. We're truly humbled with this honor. We're in the middle of the month of Kislev now, and Hanukkah is definitely in the air. And there's a thought I had about Hanukkah that I think relates very well to feelings that I have coming back to Atlanta. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us that there's a machlokas, there's a dispute between the Amoraim regarding deriving light from the menorah. One of the opinions is that it's mutter lehishtamish laora. You're allowed to derive benefit from the light of the menorah. And the other mandamar, the other opinion holds that asr lehishtamish laora, it's forbidden to derive benefit from the light that the menorah gives off. There's another chazal that tells us that the menorah represents Torah. The pasuk tells us kiner mitzvah v'Torah, or that Torah is referred to as a light, as a burning flame. And thinking about this dispute, I think it kind of relates to a conflict that many of us have all the time. On the one hand, there's the fire that burns within us. There's the personal growth that we try to achieve in our learning and our avodas Hashem and trying to do the mitzvahs and our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And on the other hand, there's the light that we're able to give off to others. How much of what we have we're able to share and we're able to influence and impact others. Usually, it's kind of a balance. There's a conflict. Which one of those aspects is going to overcome the other? But I look back and I reflect in our time in Atlanta, and I really believe that we had a very special and unique opportunity to really push full throttle on both fronts over here. On the one hand, we were led and we were guided by Rabbi Neuberger, who, as Yechezkel told us, we tackled 3 very difficult topics, ones that I was not able to really delve into in the past. I have touched it since then. Hopefully, I've been reviewing, and to an extent, that was our personal growth. We each pushed each other. Rabbi Neuberger pushed us, and that was our own personal growth. But at the same time, the situation was that we were laying the foundation for what Yisrael was to become. We were influencing. At that time, when we started, the 8th graders and then the 9th graders as they came into the yeshiva, and everything that we were doing, which really was, in a sense, for our own benefit, really was being used to impact and to influence the yeshiva, the boys coming in, and the greater Atlanta community. And that truly is a really special, unique opportunity to be able to pull off both of those things at the same time without one taking away from the other. And that's when I look back at our time here, I think it was amazing that we were able to really pull that off. I just want to thank Rabbi Neuberger. I want to thank my co members for giving me that opportunity, and I want to thank the general Atlanta community as a whole for the support, and Rabbi Mr. and Mrs. Rodbell for their support for enabling the yeshiva the kollel to start and the yeshiva to exist.